Zzz.
Is that,
Oh, wait, that sounds, yeah.
is that housefly or is that bee?
I know, right?
Oh, but it's bees. It really is bees. It's all about bees today.
No birds, just the bees.
Well, it's a good thing. Why do we need bees? And did you know that you can also pick up beekeeping as a hobby? So we'll be talking about that. It's quite interesting. We have a beekeeper, the bee man, Singapore bee man, who will be with us in just a bit.
So be still and stay with us. We'll get into that conversation shortly. This is Work It on CNA 938. I'm Stanley Leong with Tei Su Sian. It's about all things sweet today on Work It. What do I mean? Well, did you know you can buy local honey produced by local rescued wild honeybees? Apparently, they can be humanely rescued and rehomed in the gardens set up by Nutrinests.
So we'll understand what humanely means in just a little while. Also, by the way, I talked about picking up beekeeping as a hobby. So how does that happen? You know, it does in several dense cities in the world. So what about Singapore? Let's find out how this is even possible. Let's speak to Xavier Tan, who calls himself the bee man from Nutrinest. Hi, Xavier. Welcome to Work It.
Hi, good day.
Good day. A very good day indeed. Tell us about how your interest in beekeeping and also conservation started.
Right, so I actually started beekeeping in 2009 when I visited a friend in Malaysia who is a beekeeper. That's how I started to grow interest in it. And in 2014, when I witnessed some how pest control actually exterminating the bee, I decided to help bees in Singapore and started conserving bees in Singapore.
Right. So that was how it all started. But why do bees even matter? I mean, some may be fleeting and running away whenever they see a bee. I've actually played tennis and bees come flying at me. Maybe I was wearing neon yellow or something. I don't know. Maybe I look like a big flower. But why do bees matter in the first place?
Well, so bees are the keystone species to our ecosystems. So their main contribution is to help plants to pollinate, but it also a part of the entire food web, directly and indirectly affecting our food source. So it's really important for us to conserve the bees, even though in Singapore, such a small country.
Okay, so no bees, no flowers, no pollination, no fruit, no vegetable.
That's so sad.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's understand a little bit more about our relationship with the bees in Singapore, right? I mean, even when a wild beehive is found, I would say a beehive is found, the usual response would be to get the pest control company to get rid of it. Why is this not the best?
Okay, so a lot of people think that wow, why you want to save the bee? We don't have agriculture. It's not our major economic sectors, and we don't rely on bees to help us. But beside the and beside that, we can actually hand pollinate our plants if we have to, or even now we're thinking about using drone bee. So really, what's the use of the bees, right? But there's a study done on NUS researchers showing that about 70% of the edible grow in our community garden were pollinated by two typical local honeybee, the dwarf bee and the Serana bee. And but these are the two most commonly exterminated bees in Singapore as well. So it's really important for us to understand that and to try to conserve them.
Actually, how many types or species of bees are commonly found in Singapore, and do they all do the same pollination work that we often think bees do?
Okay, so normally we are divided the bee into two categories. One is the generalist, the other one is the specialist. The specialist
Sounds like people. Okay.
Yeah, right. And the specialists are usually the solitary bees who actually specialize in pollinating certain kind of plants, some very unusual plants. And for the generalists are the honeybee, right, such as the dwarf bee, Apis cerana, Apis dorsata. Those are the stinging bee, and those also there's a type of bee called stingless bee, which is trigona. So so this generous bee will actually help to pollinate most of the plants that we have. They are not so choosy as compared to solitary bee. So in total, we have about 100 to 200 over different type of bees, but
Wow.
among them, only 4 types are social honeybees.
Social meaning?
Social meanings they are e-social. They are grow in. They actually live in one colony, so they are easily discovered by most of the people because they comes in numbers, like ranging
Oh,
from a few hundred thousand, a few thousand, to maybe 20, 30,000s.
okay. So why is it not a good idea to just immediately call the pest control company and say just get rid of it?
Right. So, like I say, bees are really important. So,
Mm.
if let's say people wanted to get rid of them because of concern of safety, we can also use a humane way of removing the bee instead of exterminating them because they
Tell
are
us,
very
yeah.
useful to us.
Yeah. How is it humane?
How is it humane? Okay. So, a humane bee remover means not only safely removing the bee colony, but also making sure the colony can continue to do well after the removal. The impact of removing could lower the colony's immunity strength, leading to a colony collapse due to a disease or parasitic infestations. So the method of removing of the bee, right, properly or not, right, is very important. So for example, some people will use a vacuum to suck the bee, and it may look effective in capturing the bee, but we do not know how bad this has caused the bee to stress. And a humane bee remover uses a queen to reunite the colony into a holding container. To successfully do that, right, the queen has to be have as little stress as possible so she can effectively control the whole colony. So imagine
Yeah.
if the queen was sucked into a box and lost the ability to communicate with the rest of the bee that are outside, then the separation of the queen from the colony by force will overly stress the bee and causing her to stop reproducing, and the whole colony will collapse slowly. So it's really not depends on the type of way to remove the bee, um, whether it's a humane or not humane in a way. That's what it means.
All right. We better treat royalty with much respect and care. All right. So, whenever these bees are humanely removed and relocated, what happens to them? Where do they go? Where do they? I mean, I'm sure HDB doesn't provide them a new flat somewhere else.
Yeah. So yes, we actually have gardens that we keep the bees, and we not only give them a place, we have to prepare a box for them to build a new home, and yeah, we also need to make sure that there's enough plant for them to forage from, and that's how we actually keep the bees. We also use the bee as our educating tool for educating the visitors who come over to our garden, and occasionally we'll harvest some of the honey that's produced by the bees.
Oh, so okay, so I'm getting that you have a bee yard, right? I mean, how many of these gardens are there in Singapore actually, Xavier?
What I for mine, I have about 3.
Okay.
So I'm not sure whether you know about the other 2 beekeeper that are actually keeping bees. I'm not sure that how many bee they are keeping, how many garden that they have. But for me, I have 3. And
Okay.
And where are they?
Yeah, where are your gardens?
yeah, and interesting thing is that I also keep bees in my HDB balcony
Oh.
for about 5 6 years already.
Wow.
It's just a way for me to study is if it's possible to actually do a beekeeping in a very dense populations, and seems quite successful because they have been with me for 5 6 years already, and I know that some of the people they are also doing what I've been doing. So we hope
Mm.
that more people can do that so we can reduce the amount of bee being exterminated.
Sure. Do you need special permits, say, to be able to keep bees like certain pets? You need special permission.
Right. So far there isn't any yet, and to my understanding, as long as the bee that you keep are not causing any problem to your neighbor, then it's fine.
Yeah, I then we have people planting vegetables at the rooftops and all that. So, in the balconies, that kind of makes sense as well, isn't it? So, Xavier, how is this a sustainable practice? I mean, talk to us about how, you actually manage your eco gardens.
Oh, so yeah, so in you know, financially support wise is inevitable. We really need to have to make it sustainable. So when we do the removal, we actually will charge people for that. And when people come and visit us, we also charge a fee to for them to learn a little bit more about bees. We also sell some of the honey that we have. So on and off here and there, we try to make our cost low so that more people can easily access to all this, and then to achieve what we want for people to learn to coexist with the bees. So yeah, so this is how we try to make it sustainable.
And I also read that you don't use fertilizers for your plants, etc. I mean, like, pesticides.
Yes, we do use fertilizer. We just don't use
pesticide, yeah.
pesticide, herbicide. We don't use all that kind of chemical. We don't even do fogging, so no mosquito fogging. So what we do to overcome this is that, okay, first of all, we use whatever food waste that we do a compost to actually use it, turn it into fertilizer for the plant. And we also try to breed have conditions where dragonflies will come, and dragonflies will can effectively help to control the mosquito population as well.
That's really interesting.
Learning so much here.
Yeah. Do you know if the bee population has dropped drastically here?
Well, I have been trying to find out how is the bee population in Singapore. You know, whether
Curious.
they're declining or not. But when I try to seek information, whether be it with NUS professor or with the Singapore statistic, with even Singapore Pest Control Association, so they are not reviewing all this. But based on the rate that I'm helping people to remove bee and as opposed to how many pest control are doing it. So they have a 300 over pest control company in Singapore. So imagine every one of them every month they're exterminating one beehive. I'm sure they do more because I 1 week maybe removing like 10 beehive.
Really?
So I'm sure they remove more, but assuming is one beehive per month for every pest control, 300 pest control. So every month is 300 hive. And in a year it will be times 12. So I would guess that if we continue to allowing pest control to exterminating bees in this way, we'll soon run out of bees.
You are a much beloved friend of bees, Xavier. Xavier Tan, the bee man, and he's got a business called Nutrinest, spelled Nutrinest, of which you also do conduct courses and workshops. Tell us about some of them, and this being the school holidays already, Xavier, are there special workshops that our kids and parents tuning in should be aware of?
We at this year end, I'm a little bit busy now because I'm actually getting a new bee garden. I actually listed a new place at West Coast garden area, and I'm busy preparing for that and hoping that this garden will be ready by end February or early March, and then we will start to do something different from the previous garden. So in the previous garden, we do workshops and to arouse people's interest about bees by having them interacting with the bee in a safe way. But the thing is that we don't use protective gear where people coming to visit us they can really have the impact of interacting with the bees. And we have thousands of people visited us, and none of them ever get stung by the bee. So it's a good statistic to prove to people that it's actually safe.
Yeah.
And So when the new garden is ready, I'm planning to actually launch some courses for people to learn about beekeeping because we have bigger place, and I really need to do that because we have too many hives already. And I hope that more people, they will learn to do beekeeping, and after some practices, and when they are ready, then they will get a hive for me and actually keep it in their location, so we will be able to well distribute the bee populations and make our environmental more friendly to the bees.
Well, thank you so much. So much to learn as well. We've been speaking to Xavier Tan, the bee man from Nutrinest. Thanks for your time today, Xavier.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Stanley.
Well, if at this point of listening you're staring at a beehive to be removed or know someone who needs that service, fear not. You can call Xavier at 91474065 to remove your beehive safely and humanely. Otherwise, you can also find him on Instagram at beeman_Singapore.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will be putting up a podcast, and then we'll share with you the link once it's ready.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Xavier.
Right. Thank you
Have a
for your
good
time.
afternoon.
Bye bye.
Good luck, yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Thank you.